The Eternals is here, and I wasn't invited. Last night was the premiere of The Eternals in Los Angeles, and I'm in Toronto, so I wasn't invited. Sometimes I get invited to the Canadian premieres. We'll see if I'm invited to the Canadian premiere, but I wasn't, unfortunately, not there. But a lot of people were, so I thought today on the React channel, let's react to the first reactions of so many of these movie journalists, movie pundits. What did they think of The Eternals? Why don't we find out? And I'm going to read some of these reactions and see if this piques our interest somewhat. Let's give that a try, all right? Let's go to Twitter here, and we're going to start off from the movie podcast, Daniel Baptista, who says, Chloe Zhao's Eternals is mesmerizing and unlike anything we've seen before in the MCU. It breaks the familiar mold and delivers an epic and beautifully crafted story that is grand yet grounded in a love of humanity. Watch it in IMAX. I will. Okay. So far, so good. Great review. Okay, let's find another one. Okay, here we have Grace Randolph. Here we go. Grace Randolph says, Eternals is the most un-MCU film to date. So much so that it feels like a different franchise. Very interested to see how Marvel fans react to that. My faves, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani, and Lauren Ridloff. Okay, review embargo lifts this Sunday, and we're going to see what they think with those review embargoes later on. So thank you, Grace. We have Herb Scribner from Deseret News. Eternals review. Well, Eternals is a huge cast, story scale. It's beautifully told with excellent music, acting, and pacing. It's one of the more cinema Marvel movies to date and deserves a place in the upper tier of MCU films. Okay, and he goes on. That said, it does not feel like a Marvel movie at all. It definitely feels like something different, almost like its own movie. You could have called this Eternals without the Marvel logo, and no one would be the wiser. A lot of MCU elements are not included in this movie. As its own story, it's really good. I would love to see this Eternals world built out more. Knowing it's in the MCU, it would be cool to know how it fits in the MCU, okay? Each character has their own story and motivation. Some are better than others, some are more built out than others. It's a little uneven in how much attention it brings to every character. Then he goes on to talk about the actors specifically, but he also says, I don't know if Eternals beats Shang-Chi though. It's probably a tier below that wherever you rank it. There are moments where you want more action, more battles rather than a story. If you love dialogue, you'll love this movie. Okay, that's a little concerning to me. It sounds like it might be a little slow. I don't know, we'll see. He also says, overall, pretty good. Just didn't hit the Marvel notes for me. Good science fiction movie overall, but as for an MCU film, it'll require a second watch to see where it ranks. Eternals. #Eternals. Okay, so that's interesting. So they're saying that a lot of dialogue, a lot of story, light on the action. Okay, that could be interesting. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's go to Brandon Davis of comicbook.com. All right, Eternals is a whole lot of movie. It's shot with a massive scope, looking visually different and more intimate than anything else Marvel. It has laughs, great surprises, and heart to go with the gigantic, crowded story it unpacks. Chloe Zhao is a really unique visual stamp. He also says the Eternals post-credit scenes got wild, loud reactions from the crowd. They're both really, really exciting, and that's exciting to hear. Kumail Nanjiani steals every scene in Eternals and gives so much energy and life as Kingo. Also, especially a huge fan of Lauren Ridloff as Makari, Barry Kogan as Druig, and Don Lee as Gilgamesh. Richard Madden and Gemma Chan give really, really strong performances. That's good. He also says, because there's just so much going on in Eternals, I didn't love how there was so much story with so many new characters as our conduits. I needed to sit with it and talk through it. Overall, my opinion, it was a good, cool story that's told in an uneven way. Okay, that could be a little concerning. That could be. Well, we're talking about 10 characters here, so there is a lot to unpack. Also, how they kind of fit into the MCU, though reading it, it sounds like there's some questions unanswered. So I guess we'll see what happens, all right? So, okay, let's go over to some friends of mine. Let's go to my buddy, my boy, Mr. John Campia. Let's see what he says. Let's see if I can do it in his voice. John's my friend. Here we go. So Eternals is a dense, rich, and has more depth of story than anything the MCU has done thus far. Also, the most beautiful MCU film to date. I need time to unpack it all, to be honest. More tomorrow, but for now, here was my quick thoughts out of the theater. And go watch his video. John's the best at out of the theater reviews, for sure. And he also says, one more thought on Eternals, without giving away any details. The movie's scope is so vast and so encompassing, it sort of makes the rest of the MCU up to this point, even Infinity War and Endgame, almost seem trite and inconsequential. Wow. You'll see what I mean. That is interesting. Oh boy. This sounds like one of those movies where hardcore fans, they might not like this. That's what I'm feeling right now. But if you're a movie buff, you're going to like it. If you like new things, you like the MCU changing in a new way, you might like this. That's what it's sounding like to me. Again, not having seen the movie myself, but that's how it's sounding. From Collider's Perry Nemiroff, who I actually met before, and she's wonderful. She says, Eternals is dense. And I believe John used the same word, dense. And I felt the weight of the exposition often. Movies at its best when the focus is on the Eternals recreating their family. The humor of it and the passion when they fight for each other. And the things they love. Also, Angelina Jolie in the MCU is everything. Okay, that's great from Perry. That's an interesting word, eh? Dense. Dense, eh? From Frosty, also of Collider. My favorite part of Marvel movies is how they consistently manage to find new ways to tell their stories. Eternals is beautifully shot and looks very different than previous MCU films. Stories surprise me with some of the twists and turns. The two after the credit scenes are clap, thumbs up, fire. Used all those emojis there. And again, hearing those after credit scenes are amazing. That's awesome. But different than MCU films, which, people don't like change. Let's be honest. A lot of people don't like the change. So let's see what happens here, okay? From Hector Navarro. I love Hector. I fell in love with the hashtag Eternals tonight. It's a beautiful translation of the original Jack Kirby comic concepts, and it lets us sit with the characters and their emotions maybe more than any other MCU film. It is truly epic. It's really gorgeous. Its trailers haven't done it justice. Okay, that's a good one. From Dorian Parks. Eternals was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I'm happy to report that it did not disappoint at all. Chloe Zhao takes you on a thrilling and emotional journey. The visuals are incredible, and the cast absolutely kills it. The cosmic side of the MCU is expanding. Fire! There you go. Dorian, I believe he runs Geeks of Color, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though. From Dan Casey. Eternals is one of Marvel's most ambitious films. Epic in scope, lavishly shot, and totally unapologetic about how much lore it dumps on you. Terrific cast, great direction, and delightfully comic booky. Definitely not for everyone. It always worries me when someone says that. Definitely not for everyone, but these are Jack Kirby's space gods done right. Okay, very interesting. And from one of the inspirations for this channel, let's go to Dat John Humphrey of The Real Rejects. He says, Eternals is one of Marvel's most beautifully honed and breathable. Gonna need some time to chew on it. It's dense. That's that word again. Dense. But really enjoyed the grandiosity, the ensemble, the scope, and overall sense of tangibility. Definitely a beast of a different, more contemplative stripe. That's interesting. There's that word again. Dense. So there's so much more on Twitter. Just look up the reviews and make sure you follow everyone that I mentioned in this particular review. So a couple of things here. One thing I'm looking forward to, I really want to see the visuals of this movie. There was a lot made about Chloe Zhao showing practical places to film. And, I'm a CGI guy, okay? I worked in visual effects. That was my job. And it's incredible a lot of you don't know what can be achieved in visual effects these days. It's just incredible, okay? And you already see it in the trailers. There's a ton of VFX in this film. Tons. But I also want to see how that meshes with the set locations, the sets they build, the locations they shot. It's always fun for me to try to figure out what's VFX and what's not. I usually get it right like 95% of the time around there, but things have been changing. Things have been getting better. So we'll see how this movie looks. But that word dense, what does that mean? A lot of story, a lot of dialogue. It says to me that I could totally see a divide for this movie. But let's hope that's not the case. Let's really hope that's not the case. Let's hope everyone goes and enjoys it. Let's hope that I go and enjoy it. I think I will. I 100% know I'm going to enjoy this particular movie here. To see how they fit those 10 characters in. I'm a big Kumail Nanjiani fan. Can't wait to see what his character looks like. Can't wait to see all that year of hard work. I need to be cast in a Marvel film so I could be buff. So my body would be eternal. I got no one here to laugh at my jokes. So, there you go. What do you guys think? What are your expectations for this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's see if Disney invites me to the Canadian premiere. It's usually like the Wednesday before the movie comes out. If that happens, I will let you know, and I will let you know my reaction once I get to see The Eternals. Make sure you subscribe to all of the James Ray's Media Network channels, okay? We have so much great content coming right at you every single day. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best. My name is James, and I'll see you next time.